In more than 4 years, the CEO of an automotive manufacturer who seems to stand out from most American companies has made scathing remarks against President Trump's tariff projects. Our channel has followed the latest news. Phil and Melissa, Jim Farley, CEO of Ford, stated yesterday during an investor conference that he would be in Washington today to announce his decision. The Ford CEO has just challenged Donald Trump, and his warning changes everything. Jim Farley isn't just disagreeing with Trump's latest trade policy, he's calling it a direct threat to American jobs and the entire automotive industry. While Trump advocates for massive tariffs on Mexico and Canada, Farley is sounding the alarm, warning that these policies could harm American manufacturing while giving foreign automakers a major advantage. But why is one of the industry's most influential figures taking such an anti-Trump stance? And how could these tariffs end up hurting American workers instead of protecting them? The answer might surprise you. Let's begin today. I'm simplifying our tariffs on steel and aluminum so everyone understands exactly what it means: 25% with no exceptions or exemptions, and this applies to all countries regardless of their origin, all countries. On the other hand, if it's made in the United States, in the United States of America, there's no tariff, zero. So if it's made in the United States, there's no tariff, just make it in the United States. We don't need products from another country. For example, if it's made in the United States, we don't need it made in Canada. We'll have jobs, that's why Canada should be our 51st state. We'll revive industries, we'll revive jobs, and we'll make American industry great again. If you're enjoying this content and want to stay updated on important economic developments like these, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell now to never miss our latest analyses. Donald Trump is making his biggest economic bet yet, a bet that could upend American jobs and industries like never before. His latest proposal, a 25% tariff on goods from Mexico and Canada, plus a 10% tariff on imports from China. Trump claims this will protect American jobs, force foreign companies to pay their fair share, and revitalize American manufacturing. But in reality, these tariffs could have the opposite effect. This isn't Trump's first tariff war. During his first term, he imposed heavy taxes on imported steel, aluminum, and Chinese products. Now he's doubling down, promising that his new tariffs will boost the economy. At his rallies, he presents this as a fight for American workers, declaring to the crowd that we won't let other countries scam us anymore. This message is well received in manufacturing-heavy states like Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. But there's a major problem: tariffs don't make foreign companies pay, they make Americans pay. Take the automotive industry for example. Currently, many American cars rely on parts imported from Mexico and Canada. Imposing a 25% tariff on these parts forces companies like Ford and GM to either absorb the cost, which could lead to layoffs, or increase their prices, making cars thousands of dollars more expensive for ordinary Americans. And then there's China. Trump's 10% tariffs on Chinese imports are meant to punish Beijing, but they could have serious consequences. China is the world's leading producer of batteries for electric vehicles, the same batteries that American automakers need for their transition to electric cars. A price surge could hinder electric vehicle production, putting America behind competitors like Europe and South Korea. That's why Ford CEO Jim Farley isn't staying silent. He's not just speculating, he's sounding the alarm in a rare and urgent statement, warning that Trump's plan could devastate the auto industry. But what exactly did he say, and why should all Americans care? Let's break it down. When we look at what's happening with the potential tariffs, you dodged a bullet by postponing Canadian and Mexican tariffs by at least 30 days, but have you personally let President Trump know how much this would hurt Ford and foreign automakers in the United States? Listen, Phil, as you said, if this persists, if these tariffs persist with Mexico and Canada, it would result in losses of several $billion for the American automotive industry. The impact on employment in the United States would be enormous, and the administration knows it, as do congressional leaders. Jim Farley isn't a politician, he's the CEO of Ford. His goal is to keep the company profitable, drive innovation, and stay ahead of the competition. But when Donald Trump unveiled his massive new tariff plan, Farley did something rare: he spoke out. At the Wolf Research Conference, Farley didn't hesitate to issue his warning. A 25% tariff at the Mexico-Canada border would create a hole in American industry like never before. This isn't just an opinion, it's a disastrous prediction from the person who runs one of America's most iconic automakers. And the numbers prove it. Currently, Ford heavily depends on Mexico and Canada for its parts and materials. If Trump's tariffs take effect, Ford will face two bad choices: absorb the costs, which would impact profits and could lead to job cuts, or pass them on to consumers, making cars thousands of dollars more expensive. And Ford isn't stopping there. The entire American auto industry could be hit hard. The stakes are even higher for electric vehicles. Farley warned that Ford's battery plants in Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky, and Tennessee could be seriously threatened if Trump eliminated Biden-era subsidies and imposed his new tariffs. China already dominates the electric vehicle market, and without government support or stable trade policy, Ford might be forced to close plants, costing thousands of American jobs. And while American automakers struggle to develop, foreign manufacturers could benefit greatly. Trump's tariffs target Mexico, Canada, and China, but not South Korea, Japan, or Europe, meaning companies like Hyundai, Toyota, and BMW could gain a significant advantage while Ford and GM struggle to adapt. Farley's warning is clear: if Trump's tariffs take effect, American companies will suffer and foreign competitors will take over. But why would a Republican president, traditionally supported by big business, advocate a policy that could harm one of America's most important industries? To understand this, we need to look more closely at the reality and understand why Ford's warning is a sign of a much more serious problem. For decades, big business and the Republican Party have been natural allies. Lower corporate taxes, reduced regulation, and business-friendly policies have made the Republican Party the party of choice for business leaders. CEOs rarely criticize Republican presidents, especially on economic issues. But that's exactly what Jim Farley just did. His warning about Trump's tariffs isn't just a passing complaint, it's a major alarm indicating that something is very wrong. Historically, Republican policies have been a win for the auto industry. Tax breaks, deregulation, and labor laws favoring manufacturers have allowed companies like Ford and GM to thrive. That's why Farley's words are so shocking. When a business leader breaks ranks and publicly challenges a Republican president, it means the stakes are higher than politics. Farley isn't the only one worried. Across the sector, American manufacturers view Trump's tariffs as a direct threat to their survival. Usually, CEOs avoid political conflicts, working discreetly behind the scenes through lobbyists and closed-door meetings. But not this time. The risk is too great to remain silent. And here's the most obvious sign that Farley isn't just defending Trump's plan: other automakers aren't rushing to defend Trump's plan. If these tariffs were truly beneficial for the industry, we would expect leaders from GM, Stellantis, and other major players to support them. Instead, they've remained remarkably silent. This silence speaks volumes. It's not just about companies, it's about American workers and consumers. If these tariffs are implemented, they won't just disrupt Wall Street, they'll also affect jobs, wages, and the prices of everyday consumer goods. And now, let's analyze the real cost of Trump's plan. Small business owners are struggling to keep up with Donald Trump's erratic trade threats. The New York Times reports, and I quote, "Trump's targeting of China has sown chaos. Tariffs are just taxes that Americans pay. Studies show that Trump's previous tariffs cost American households an average of $1,300 per year. His new plan could be even more expensive. At a time when inflation is already hurting American families, these tariffs could push prices even higher. The math is simple: a 25% tariff means 25% higher costs. These costs are passed on to consumers. It's not China, Mexico, or Canada that pays, it's the American people. For the auto industry, the consequences could be severe. Analysts predict that car prices could increase by $3,000 to $5,000 per vehicle. This would not only hurt consumers but could also destroy up to 300,000 American jobs in manufacturing, sales, and related sectors. When cars become more expensive, people buy fewer of them. When people buy fewer cars, factories produce fewer cars. When factories produce fewer cars, they need fewer workers. It's that simple. But Trump's tariffs wouldn't just hit cars. Everything from food to clothing to electronics would become more expensive. The agriculture sector would be particularly hard hit. Farmers who already struggled during Trump's first trade war could face even tougher times. If Mexico and Canada retaliate with their own tariffs, American agricultural exports could collapse. This explains why so many economists from across the political spectrum are concerned. Even traditionally conservative organizations like the Chamber of Commerce are warning about the devastating impact these tariffs could have. So the question remains, if these tariffs are so harmful to American businesses and workers, why is Trump pushing them? The answer may lie in political calculation rather than economic wisdom. Tariffs sound good on the campaign trail. They're simple to explain and easy to portray as tough on other countries. Many voters, especially in swing states with manufacturing histories, find the idea appealing even if the economic reality is much more complicated. But for business leaders like Jim Farley, the reality is clear. That's why his warning carries so much weight. When the CEO of Ford publicly states that the Republican presidential candidate's economic policy could devastate American industry, people should listen. This isn't about politics, it's about jobs, livelihoods, and America's economic future. As the tariff debate continues, one thing becomes increasingly clear: the gap between campaign promises and economic reality has never been wider. For now, Ford and other American manufacturers are watching closely, hoping that economic wisdom will prevail over political expediency. But with election season in full swing, that hope may be fading. The coming months will determine whether America embraces protectionism at any cost or recognizes that in today's interconnected world, tariff walls often hurt the very people they're meant to protect. For the auto industry, for American workers, and for consumers across the country, the stakes couldn't be higher. This is a battle not just for the future of American manufacturing but for America's place in the global economy. And as Jim Farley's warning makes clear, it's a battle that affects everyone, regardless of political affiliation. The question now is whether America will heed this warning before it's too late.